Okay, well, let's get back to the throne speech now and take a look at how this 45th Parliament is shaping up. Stevie O'Brien is a former Chief of Staff to Liberal ministers, now Counsel and Senior Advisor at Macmillan Vantage. Jordan Paquet, Vice President at Blue Sky Strategy Group, and Farouk Karim is a former Press Secretary for the NDP. Hello to the three of you.
Hi.
Okay, so as I said, I want to get back to this throne speech. And, to be fair, the Conservative MP opposition leader, Andrew Scheer, in the House today said he's going to reserve further debate on the throne speech until tomorrow. But he did already point out that he does not believe that this is enough of a roadmap for a government that claims to be ambitious about where it wants to go. So, Jordan, I'll get you to start us out here. What do you make of the comment from Mr. Scheer?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment of this speech. I mean, it's quite similar to what we've seen in the one mandate letter that went out to all ministers, regardless of the portfolio, didn't break things down very specifically, and similar to Mark Carney's press conference. So at least it was consistent in that regard. But they haven't actually broken down kind of some of the key areas and what they're going to do on some of these specific policy priorities. It's a lot of. It was a great pomp and ceremony today. Great that the King came. Lots of nice slogans and words, but no really key details. They talk about national energy projects, but they're not talking about oil and gas and what they're going to do for that. Are they going to repeal some of the anti-energy pieces of legislation that were in there under the previous government, or is it going to be more of the same? I think Mark Carney is going to learn quickly with some of his cabinet ministers around him. It's not going to be easy, as he says, and expectations for him are very, very high. So we'll see how he delivers.
Okay, I'll get to expectations in a second. But Farouk, what do you make of that? The criticism that this throne speech really, I guess, did not have enough meat on the bones.
Yeah, usually it's the speech. It's a grocery list of all the items the government wants to do. But it seems that Mr. Carney has a different view of how he wants to handle things. The letters to the ministers, one indication. This is largely the same thing by the King's voice. I thought today's exercise is something that is quite interesting from Mr. Carney's strategy, and it has been the same since he has become the leader of the party. He's setting high expectations for himself and for his government since the beginning. And today, by having the King essentially saying his plan, the expectations are really, really high. Now, it has been the case for the few months during the campaign, too, when Mr. Carney says we're going to do things we haven't done before and we're going to build them faster than we haven't done before. I'm paraphrasing, but the expectations are really, really high. I always thought, as a former staffer and communication staffer, that the key in politics is to manage expectation. You want to under-promise and over-deliver. It's good in politics, it's good in your personal life, and I think Mr. Carney is using another strategy, and political gravity will come back soon to bite him, I think.
Okay, so Steve, what do you think? Because, to Farouk's point, this government, while it was campaigning to be government, made some very big promises, amongst them the fact that they would be moving quicker than we as a country are used to moving. And then here comes a throne speech. You go through the bother of inviting the King of Canada to read the throne speech, and not a lot of detail, not much different than what we actually heard on the campaign trail.
I think this is all part of Carney's strategy. He was elected with a mandate and that he takes very seriously to navigate Canada through an economic crisis and a sort of a sovereignty crisis. That's what the campaign was about. That's why he did so well. That's why we saw that Liberal curve go up like this at the end. And I think he's taking that mandate very seriously. And by doing so, he's focusing in on those key priorities. That's why we're seeing a streamlined mandate letter. That's why we're seeing the repetition of the key points.
But not a lot of details, though.
But it is focusing on, not a lot of details in the mandate letter, but it is a focusing on what the key criteria are for him. It's ensuring Canada-U.S. relations, trade with others, and affordability measures. And I think that those were articulated and reinforced in the speech today. And I think it's not just the words that were said, but it was the ceremony and who said them, and what it was saying to the rest of the world, that it was done in that manner, which was the main point of the exercise.
Mm-hmm. Farouk, you raised this idea of over-promising, potentially over-promising here from this government. And I do wonder, how much pressure do you think is on Mr. Carney to deliver, not only to deliver the promises that he made, but also deliver them quickly? Because, arguably, he did win this coalition, he did win this support, but it was trailing off towards the end, so much so that it did not end up in a Liberal majority, Conservatives started to gather steam as well. So how much of a timeline does the Prime Minister actually have to deliver here, Farouk?
Yeah, I think the honeymoon is going to be really short. He's going to have to start putting details to his plan. He cannot keep having the same kind of communication where this is the big vision items. At some point, planning has to come. I think the setup, he has a pretty chronological setup, right? He had this King's Speech. Next week there's the First Minister's meeting, and so and then there's the G7. Then he has to go to Europe. So there is a plan. Mr. Carney said during the whole campaign, a plan beats no plan. So he has a plan. Mr. Carney wanted to be Prime Minister, we know, for a long time. So he has thought about all of this. My concern is that he needs to do it in a team. He cannot do it by himself. And the word on the street right now is that Mr. Carney has the top of the class syndrome. He's the smartest guy in the room. That's a good thing. We want the Prime Minister to be a smart guy, but he also needs help to accomplish all that he wants. And from the perception from now or to this point is that he doesn't have that team yet, but he needs to have that soon because he cannot do it by himself.
Yeah, it doesn't have the team, so much so that we know, for example, he's still looking for a chief of staff because Marco Mendicino is only going to stay until the House rises for the summer. So, Jordan, what type of pressure is the Prime Minister and this government under, given the promises that they have made? And again, the fact that the coalition may not be as durable as perhaps Liberals might think.
Well, he's under immense pressure. I mean, I think we've been talking about it. He set the standards high for himself, and I think maybe in his mind he knows what he wants to do, but does the rest of the team around him know what they want to do? Are they all going to be marching in that same direction? And I think we saw from that first cabinet meeting when they all exited and you had 4 different ministers saying different things, you've now already had the Prime Minister have to come out, correct his finance minister, say, no, there will be a budget later this year, when it wasn't actually happening. So you're going to see numerous little scenarios like that happening. Not to mention, it's great to have all the priorities that he does, but you're going to have lots of little side issues that are going to come up. And how is this government going to handle managing those issues and still be able to deliver on these big promises that they have without actually reaching out to the Conservatives and agreeing with them on some of these bigger projects about repealing some of the anti-development policies that were there before?
Yeah, well, to be fair, we were actually having a conversation. How much of this is trying to squeeze into the public sector philosophy, a philosophy from the private sector? So I wonder how much of that is the tension. But you talk to us, Stevie, about the pressure and how well this government is meeting the pressure to deliver, because again, the Prime Minister says he would deliver quickly.
I think he's been consistently rising to the occasion and doing very well. We've got to remember, he only became leader of the party in early March. He has brought forward he's canceled the carbon tax before he's won an election. He's had a very successful first meeting with Donald Trump, which could have gone very differently. He is doing what he was elected to do, which is calm the waters, improve Canada-US relations, and help bolster the economy. And I think he does have a plan. I think we've talked about elements of it here. He is going methodically. He is a methodical man. He's project managing this. I don't think there have been some missteps coming out of cabinet. I agree, but I don't think Carney will suffer fools. I think it's going to become very tight, very fast, and I don't think people will get many chances or many kicks at the can.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how quickly there's a cabinet shuffle, if that is the case. But listen, I only have about a minute, so very quickly, because there are hopes that this Parliament will have more decorum than the past Parliament, which was incredibly toxic. Do you think that is possible? The Prime Minister certainly says he wants to elevate conversation. Is that a possibility, Farouk?
For the next month, yes. We'll see to the budget in the fall.
Okay, Jordan?
I agree. I think this month is going to be about a lot of pomp and ceremony, some little jabs back and forth, some good jovial heckling, laughing, and things like that happening. We have a new speaker in the chair that seems to have been widely supported by the opposition. So no, I don't expect anything acrimonious. But yes, come the fall, I would agree with Farouk that all bets are off. And watch the committees. They're going to be quite interesting.
Stevie?
I agree with what's been said, but come the fall, I still don't think it's going to be nearly as toxic as it was at the end of 2024. I do not think that the electorate has sort of the tolerance for a Parliament that is completely sort of stalled and filibustered. So I think there will be stronger language used, especially in committees, but I still think Prime Minister Carney will be able to govern as if he does have a majority for at least the next 18 months.
Okay, well, we will see, but my takeaway from all that is enjoy June, because September may not be so great. Jordan Paquet, Stevie O'Brien, Farouk Karim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.